Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. This morning's 20th lesson of the beginner meditation series is drawn. From the meditation manual titled Easy Enlightenment. Its PDF is available for free download. We're going to explore teacher training. No, this is not some ploy to participate in a 14-day retreat for thousands of dollars. Everything I do is absolutely free. Not because I'm compassionate, I'm just stupid that way. Let's read. Patriarchal elitists have worked diligently to mystify the process of becoming a meditation teacher. Come, let us take a good look at the so-called man behind the curtain. In many Theravadan traditions, one has but to live as a monk for 12 years in order to be considered a teacher. In some Mahayana traditions, one could study and meditate for many decades, waiting in vain for one's shifu or roshi to appoint one a teacher. Biographies of some Zen masters tell dark tales of such pettiness and favoritism. In the Tibetan tradition, anyone who completed a retreat of 3 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days, and 3 hours was labeled as Lama. The problem with that is twofold. First, children of wealthy families could easily afford the expenses of such a retreat, whereas those of modest means could not. Many decades ago, I made lunch for a Tibetan monk of advancing years who simply could not afford to attend retreat and thus complete his training. Many Tibetans found a workaround to this financial elitism, eschewing the monastery, to whom they paid room and board, and live as homeless, long-haired yogis. Some of these were fortunate enough to find kind teachers, as well as survive both exposure and starvation. The second challenge to such a system is that simply doing one's time is no guarantee of acquiring the intellectual comprehension and spiritual maturation necessary to truly be of benefit to others. An additional variable in Tibetan Buddhism are the titles of Geshe, Kenpo, or Kenshin, which, although could be likened to a doctorate of divinity in the West, are less of a promise of both intellectual and spiritual mastery, more of a commentary upon their effort, recall, and the wealth of their family. Yongjia Xuanzhui's Song of Enlightenment alludes to both the 3-year apprenticeship endured by novice monks and the sad fact that not everybody benefits from such training. As humanity perches upon the precipice of ecological collapse, as well as both economic and militaristic barbarism, we stand in profound need of great meditation teachers to help folks master the secular path of contentment, compassion, and cooperation. Let us forget the myths spun by institutionalism and hearken to the wisdom of proto-Buddhism. In the penultimate passage of the Discourse on the Four Bases of Mindfulness, or Satipatthana in Pali, the Buddha taught that his path could be mastered in as little as 7 days. The irony is that it could be easier to become a Buddha than a fully qualified Dzogchen Sende Lama, or meditation teacher. Both Malcolm Gladwell as well as Brian Tracy insist that one could master any discipline in as little as 10,000 hours. Let us consider various ways to sustainably train both our intellectual mastery as well as our spiritual mastery, maturity, for 10,000 hours each. The key to this endeavor is the practice of informal retreat. Most students begin by attending my live streams twice daily. Whether live or recorded, depending upon one's schedule and time zone. One could begin by attending no more than 5 minutes per class. Each week one could add an additional 5 minutes, beginning with 5 minutes of each stream for the first week, 10 minutes for each stream the second week, 15 minutes for each stream the third week, until by the end of the 12th week one's acclimated to comfortably attend for 60 minutes per live stream. After cruising along in this manner for a month or two, one might flirt with the notion of practicing a one-day retreat once every 3 months or so. After multiple decades of experimentation, I found the following schedule to be effective and sustainable. 5:30 a.m. wake, 5 a.m. first study, 6 a.m. first meditation, 7 a.m. first break, 9 a.m. second study, 10 a.m. second meditation, 11 a.m. second break, 1 p.m. third study, 2 p.m. third meditation, 3 p.m. third break, 5 p.m. final study, 6 p.m. final meditation, 7 p.m. final break. It is imperative to make the most of the 4 sets of 2-hour breaks. To connect with one's partner, children, and pets. Thus ensuring their happiness and continued support of your spiritual training. Do not be surprised if your first single-day retreat is a rough ride. But every bump is an education. Listen to your body. Respect your needs. Jot down questions to ask during the next live stream you attend. And you can make the distinctions that could enhance the pleasure and productivity of future single-day retreats. As the months or maybe even years tick by, our single-day retreats could feel less arduous and more delightful. We could even find ourselves so looking forward to them that we begin to practice them 6 times annually and eventually monthly. This renegade Lama considers a bodhisattva to merely be one who feels defined by their practice of mindfulness and meditation, and a monastic to simply be an individual who lives as if on personal retreat. During one's first 3.5-year retreat, spent collecting their 5,000 hours of formal study and an additional 5,000 hours of formal practice, one could be considered an apprentice Lama. During the second 3.5-year retreat, when one is completing their 10,000 hours of formal study an additional 10,000 hours of formal meditation. One can be thought of as a journeyman Lama. Once one has completed their second retreat and has demonstrated both intellectual mastery as well as spiritual maturity, one could rightly be described as a master Lama. As opposed to a master debater, if you were a fan of South Park. In addition to mastering both the material as well as one's mind, it could be helpful to gain expertise in composition and public speaking. Towards that, I encourage folks to read or listen to novels composed by contemporary authors whose style of prose speak to their heart. As well as attend local Toastmasters trainings. Most people do not have the time and finances to live as if on retreat for 7 consecutive years. If one merely studied for an hour and then meditated for an additional hour every morning, and likewise studied and meditated every evening, then one could become a Master Lama in 14 years. Sadly, the United States of America has outlawed homelessness, forcing full-time meditation students to find a job, find a patron, or practice in prison. Although there are many Theravada viharas and some Mahayana monasteries in North America, most of them have become bastion of Yang's religious patriarchy, and as such, take a dim view to those who are determined to walk the path of being flexible, loving, rational, laid back, lucid, egalitarian, cooperative, and kind. Over the past 26 centuries since the Buddha, there have been times and places where it is sometimes more easy and at other times more difficult to become a Master Lama, regardless of one's age, health, gender, language, or land. A minority of folks have become Master Lamas. The author of this book is quite disabled and supports himself with the help of his domestic partner, his relatives, and by relying on Medicare as well as Social Security disability. And at the time of this printing has not received sufficient patronage as to provide would-be teacher trainees with the food, clothing, shelter, or materials they deserve. However, I'm happy to help you however I can through free videos, live streams, Q&As, and PDFs, that you too could likewise help others to master the Buddha's path of mindfulness and meditation. Having completed our opening lesson, I would very much like to shift gears. It is Rey Skywalker's Sunday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. After approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Sunday Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation, so that I can become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this morning's live stream, let's meditate. We'll begin with a spotted review. It's been said the mysteries of biology only make sense when viewed through the lens of evolution. All humans are born with their dopamine-oriented survival mechanisms good to go. We are born naked, covered in filth, and screaming. Rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and even cruel. As we evolve through early childhood, we awaken our oxytocin-oriented regions of our brain, enabling us to graduate from our survival instincts and instead be flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. I live in the United Corporations of America, and about 50% of the country, maybe more, consider our president to be a big fat baby. That makes perfect sense, for he is the poster boy of Yang's religious or irreligious patriarchy. Sturgeon's law laments that 90% of everything sucks. And this is exactly what they're talking about. The human tendency to be cowardly, cruel, and competitive. This 90% of humanity includes meditation teachers, the same ones who will implore their students to actively focus and actively analyze. They might give them fancy names like samatha and vipassana, but overworking this region of our brain could so fatigue the dorsolateral and medial prefrontal cortex that we begin presenting with symptoms of depression, no less triggering our amygdala, the seat of the cowardice, cruelty, and competition that can so oppose and prevent us from experiencing a truly fulfilling life. Fortunately, neither the amygdala nor the prefrontal cortex constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. When we vulnerably and passively cooperate with the autonomic nervous system, that is our spinal cord and all that it is wired to, we can find it calms our amygdala and gently stimulates the anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy, the root of compassion and cooperation. But what about contentment? Every time we inhale, we're wired to automatically and effortlessly access the middle part of our spinal cord, described as the sympathetic nervous system. This has evolved to help us to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of seeing, hearing, feeling, smelling, tasting, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. Everything. The external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. Every time we exhale, we have evolved to automatically access the end bits of our spinal cord, kind of like bookends on a shelf, known as the parasympathetic nervous system. It has evolved to help us to physically relax and mentally release to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation can fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and even less defining. Hence, contentment. All complex life forms on this planet have evolved to think symbolically. Perhaps that is why in every human civilization there is the use of figures of speech. How could that apply to meditation? Every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. But what is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand? Let's find a hook to hang our hat on. Mindfulness is simply noticing mind's antics, and it is most efficiently practiced by silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this each time we feel our lungs inhale. Meditation is simply relaxing into the illusion of mind's fleeting and temporary non-graspability. Or I should say mind's nature of non-graspability. Doing so is as easy as silently and mentally reciting the verb ease each time we feel our lungs release. We can use our hands as a timer. Upon the creases and tips of our right hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, we can count 16 inhalations, which takes less than 2 minutes. If we'd like to meditate longer than that, then on our left hand we can count sets of 16 inhalations each. Our first, second, third, and fourth set, our fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth set, our 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th set, our 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th set. If you wish to meditate for more than 20 minutes, you may wish to count collections of, let's see, what is 16 times 16? Well, 12 times 12 is 144. Then 16 times 16 is 256. So we could count collections of 256 inhalations simply by resting the various knuckles of our right index finger upon the tip of our left, beginning with the lower and then the middle and then the third, if we so desired. All the while, our hands palms up in our lap. Every time we inhale, our central nervous system has already evolved to notice. Vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Every time we exhale, our central nervous system has already evolved to physically relax and mentally release, fleetingly. Our job is not to make that happen. Our job is to passively cooperate through the silent and mental recitations, the demonstrative pronoun this, and the one-syllable verb is. That is why there are many nicknames for the mastery of this path, including nothing special. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In about 11 hours or so, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.